Tears escaped from Jason's eyes as his knees fell in the saggy ground. He couldn't believe Carol had left him. It happened so fast, and he didn't even have a chance to talk to her when she was in the state of struggle between life and death. Carol's mother told him that her daughter was crying in intense pain and shouting his name for help before she died. It took her half an hour before she was able to take her last breath. The doctor declared dead on arrival when she was brought in the emergency room. It was later examined that the damage in her skull was so severe that it rendered Carol's irregular heartbeat to stop. Flashes of memories landed on Jason's mind as he removed the dirt in the tombstone with his hand. He was busy working in his office when Carol called him in the phone. It was a usual occurrence of their communication and he felt no premonition when they talked. Carol spoke casually just like before. She even giggled and laughed when he promised he would give her a twin as soon as his 2-year contract with his employer had expired. He didn't think that it would be their last conversation. It seemed that his eardrum was broken when Carol's mother told him in a long-distance call that her daughter's car was hit by a 10-wheeler truck in Buendia Cloverleaf 2 days after their last talk. Carol was rushed to the Makati Medical Center but failed to fight for her life. It was really a shocking moment for him, and he immediately went home despite of his employer's warning of dismissal. It took him weeks after he was able to get the necessary papers from his employer before he took a flight for home. Carol had been buried for 3 weeks when he arrived. "Honey, why did you leave me?" he murmured while his tears dropped at the engraved name of his beloved woman, crying like a toddler who lost a favorite toy. As he touched the tombstone with his trembling fingers, he recalled the day when he promised a bright future for Carol. He told her that he would work abroad to earn more money. Carol was hesitant at first because she didn't want Jason to leave her. She insisted that it was not necessary for him to work abroad because her family was wealthy and they would help them financially. But Jason wanted to show to her parents that he could make her live comfortably without any help from them. He didn't notice the unexplained fear that possessed her dearest. He wasn't aware of an omen when Carol cried and embraced him so tight as if something ghastly would happen. "What if I die if you leave me? Do you think your money could revive me from death?" These were the words he heard when Carol insisted to him not to go away. He now realized the truth of such words. All his dreams became a useless thing in his mind. All the fruits of his hardships became a futile possession. The lovable woman whom he devoted his life was gone. Carol was right. How could he use his money to bring her back? Jason stood up and slowly stepped towards his waiting car not far from the tomb of Carol. The dark clouds in the sky seemed to sympathize with the loss of the dearest woman in his life. The clouds could no longer hold the heaviness of their weight, and the rain fell, like the falling of Jason's dream, hope and inspiration. Life then became so empty for him. He couldn't accept Carol had died. He wished to be awakened if he's only dreaming. He wanted to see Carol. He's longing for Carol's hugs and kisses. He's terribly missing the woman he loved so much. He cried desperately as he sipped the last drop of wine in his cup. He threw the bottle of wine when it got empty and took another one. He wanted to be drunk, not because he wanted to forget Carol, but just to be inebriated. He no longer wanted to work. He no longer cared for anything. He just wanted to be alone and die. Right. He wanted to end his life. What's life for him without Carol? If fate deprived him of having a woman whom he would love and live with, then let fate end his life. But if fate deprived him of losing his life, then he himself would end it. Jason rose up and went near the window. The brightness of the rays of the rising sun entered his unlighted room when he pulled the curtain. He covered his eyes with his hand when he was dazzled by the morning sun. He was staying in a condominium in Quezon Avenue. The street was filled with various types of vehicles running back and forth, of people rushing for work, of vendors setting up their wares. He was on the 13th floor, a bad number, but a good height to break his bones, when he hit the ground. A lonely smile formed in his face as he looked at the sky. "Carol, I will love you until death and I want to be with you wherever you are," he whispered as he tried to pull the bolt that locked the window. But the bolt had rusted, and he couldn't pull it. Small blood burst in his hand when it touched the sharp edge of the barrel. He angrily kicked the window panel, and the glass was broken, surprising tenants who heard the noise. He was about to jump when he heard a familiar voice. "Jason." It was indeed the voice he longed for the past several days and nights. It was spoken softly, but he heard it clearly. He turned his head expecting it was Carol who called him. But what he saw were the tenants of the condominium rushing towards him. They grabbed his arms and laid him in a settee. "Why are you going to jump in the window? Are you crazy?" One of them yelled at him. "Get the hell out of here. Let me die," he yelled back. But suddenly, he was shocked upon seeing a woman among the tenants who were trying to stop him. A smile formed in his face. "Carol." He spoke. Carol was staring at him and it was penetrating through his eyes. Her face was so lonely and he felt she wanted to say something. "Carol, why did you leave me?" he cried. "This guy is insane," said one of the tenants. Meanwhile, Jason's parents were informed of his attempted suicide and they were constrained to bring him in a hospital intended for psychiatrically disordered persons. A doctor who was adept in supernatural phenomena attended Jason's case. "Hi, I'm Dr. Christopher Tan. Good morning," greeted the half-Chinese, half-Filipino doctor who was in his mid-60s. Jason turned his head away from him. "What's good in the morning?" The doctor smiled. "There are many things that are good every morning, but only a few of us pay attention to it." Jason answered without moving his eyes. "If your dearest one has left you, would it still be a good morning for you?" "Yes, why not? I believe that your dearest one has not left you, son." Jason was amazed with what he heard. He turned his head and looked seriously at the doctor's eyes. "My dearest one has died. How could you say that she has not left me?" "Because no man dies," was a brief answer he heard. "I don't understand you," he said. "Because you don't want to even try understanding what people may tell about your dearest one." Jason cried. "It's because they don't know how I feel." The doctor quickly responded. "But have you thought how your dearest one reacted and what you're doing?" Jason's voice rose up. "Hey. She's dead. How the hell would you know it? Do you believe in soul?" Jason recalled when he saw Carol the day he attempted to kill himself. Carol had died, but he saw her soul. Yes, then you should believe that your dearest one has not left you. She may not be with you physically, but she's with you spiritually." Roll stooped down, thinking of what the doctor had said. The doctor continued, "She, in fact, wants to tell something for you. I sensed it right now." That was also how he felt when he saw Carol. She wanted to tell something. Excitement filled him when he heard these words from the doctor. "She's here?" "Yes. Why can't I see her?" "I can't see her either." "Then how did you say she's here?" "Because I sensed she's here." "I don't believe in ESPs or other sort of magic. It's not a magic, but a natural law, and no man can escape from it." "What law?" "That the soul of man departs from its body when such body no longer functions properly. We call it death, the state of man's transition from physical to spiritual or afterlife." "Okay, whatever. Actually, I've seen her when I attempted to jump in the window, and it might be her soul. She's so lonely." "Yes, and that indicates she's in deep thought of telling something for you." "Yeah, I remember that when I saw her, I felt she wanted to tell something." Jason held the doctor's arm. "Doc, can I talk to her?" "Sure, but you can't do it physically. Spirits must be dealt in a spiritual manner." "How am I going to do it?" The doctor raised his hands and started to hypnotize him. Jason felt asleep when his eyes followed the movements of the doctor's hands. He later plunged in a deep slumber and became unconscious of his surroundings. He found himself in a dark, strange place. Then he heard a voice calling his name. It was the voice of Carol, who slowly appeared like a mist until it formed into a woman. He felt extreme happiness upon seeing her. He wanted to embrace her and tell that he loves her so much, that he terribly misses her, and that he can't live without her. "Honey, I know how much you love me," it was Carol's voice. "I love you so much too. But we are living in a different world now. It's my dream to live with you, but I can no longer do it. Honey, I'm dead and you must accept it. I'm so lonely whenever I feel that you're bitter and longing for me. My loneliness will only be gone if you will learn to forget me and continue life as it was given to you. Honey, please, help me." That was all he heard from Carol. She turned back into a white mist and vanished into thin air. He called Carol to come back repeatedly, but she didn't return until he found himself facing Dr. Tan inside the hospital ward. "Did you see her?" asked the doctor. Jason nodded. "Yeah, she's so lonely again. She's asking for help. She told me that we can't live together because she's in a different world now." He stood up from the chair and walked towards the window. He gazed at the twinkling stars as he uttered his last message to Carol. "Honey, it's painful for me to forget you, but it would be more painful for me if you're going to continue suffering because of me. Rest in peace now. I love you so much and I would follow what you have told me." If you like my videos, please subscribe to my channel, click like and the notification bell so you will be notified whenever I uploaded new videos. Thank you very much for watching.